This was the lounge, believe it or not, and it's now going to be the kitchen.
We wave goodbye to the wooden floor.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Series 2, Episode 6 of the house renovations.
And as you're about to see in today's episode, we are still currently in the process of converting the old lounge into our new kitchen. Because, Holly, we still can't quite make a cup of tea.
And in true James and Holly fashion, it doesn't quite go according to plan. The ceiling fell down, nearly on James's head.
So I just realised that I was doing that woodwork then and I hadn't actually explained what I was doing. As you can see, I've started to board out the alcove over there. We obviously have the other alcove in that corner over there, which I'm basically going to do the same. I've had an electrician out, he's ran all of the cables and basically just left them hanging out of the ceiling because this bit wasn't boarded over. The main reason I'm boarding it out, as you can see, I've got some battens on the wall and I'm putting this, they call it OBS board, it's like a chipboard onto the wall. It gives me a nice void behind, so all of these chunky cables, this is like 6mm cable needed for the cooker and the oven and stuff. It gives me a nice bit of a void behind the wall to basically run those cables, and this is going to be where the fuses are going to go for the oven and the cooker, and then a couple double sockets and stuff for the coffee station. These cables here are going to be the under cabinet lights, and then the cable up there is going to be where the fridge plugs in. And the reason why I've used wood or that OBS board is because we're going to have high level shelves up there as well. So if I just did it out of plasterboard, it basically wouldn't be strong enough to hold the shelves onto plasterboard. So I'm going to put the wood up first and then I can cover it with plasterboard so we can get it plastered so you don't know the wood's behind. But when we put the shelves and the cupboards up on that bit of wall, it basically means that we've got a nice fixing behind it. And once I've done that one, I can then go over and do that alcove over there. So as you can see, everything was going pretty well, and now I decided to jump up on the ladder and cut out where our new downlights were going to go in our kitchen. I then noticed that the ceiling really didn't look very healthy, so I decided to investigate, and then this happened. Well, gosh, it's so dusty in here. I thought I'd have a little bit of a break from doing those alcoves and cut holes into the ceiling where we're going to be putting our downlights. So I've put kind of 4 holes in there, 4 holes on this side. So we're going to have 8 downlights. But as you just saw, literally a quarter of the ceiling just fell down, which basically means that the ceiling is not even stuck to the ceiling. The old plaster basically just falls down. And now I'm kind of working out whether I should just take down the whole ceiling, because I wasn't going to take the ceiling down. I was just going to plasterboard straight over the top of it and then get it replastered without taking down the old. But now looking at the state of the old, I might have to take this down and then put the plasterboard up, which is something I really didn't want to do. So I did it. I had to rip down the ceiling, the disgusting job of pulling a ceiling down. It's got to be one of the worst jobs there is when you're renovating a house. It is just disgusting. The amount of dirt, the amount of dust, the amount of rubble. It's just an unenjoyable job, but I did it. I had to bite the bullet and just basically rip it down. And I've cleaned up most of the mess now. As you can see, there's still a few lavs and stuff which I've got to take down, those final few bits. But I thought I'd take a moment here and actually speak to you guys about our lighting. We've obviously said that we're going to put some downlighters in, and we're going to be putting a hanging pendant light. So this here is going to be the pendant, which is going to be hanging above the dining table. I can kind of guess where that light is going to be going and hanging down above the dining table. But in a world where you're actually allowed to see people, like after COVID, hopefully, might be too long now, when we're actually allowed to see people and get people over for dinner, which would be crazy that we're actually allowed to see people. The dining table is obviously going to probably move to get more people around it, which would mean that the hanging pendant light is no longer above the centre of the table. Now, instead of drilling holes in the ceiling and kind of putting hooks in and stuff and sort of guessing where that dining table is going to go, to keep that light over the centre of the table, I've had a new idea. I don't know if anyone's had this idea before, but I've basically thought of getting some metal. So I found this is an old bit of metal from an old extractor fan. What I'm going to do is basically squeeze that little bit of metal into the ceiling and above the plasterboard, so you don't actually ever see it. So whenever we want to move the pendant light, all I've got to do is get a hook on a magnet, and then I can just basically magnet the hook wherever I want on the ceiling, and then hook the light wherever we want it. And then I can just take the magnet hook off. The light would go back to the original place, and I haven't marked the ceiling. I don't have to put new holes in the ceiling or anything. And to be honest, I think it's a pretty good idea, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's worth a try. So let's give it a go. So I've just angle grinded this metal, and as you can see, we've already started putting the plasterboard on the ceiling. What I've done now is taken a few screws out because I want to pull down this plasterboard, slide this metal in so it's being pinched a little bit on each one of these, and then hopefully the magnet will be strong enough to basically go through the plasterboard and connect to the metal the other side of it. One thing we should have done is ordered the magnets to give it a test, so that's probably one thing we should do today, and then tomorrow we can actually give it a test. Are you holding out much hope, Holly?
I don't know.
So the metal is now being squeezed between this bit of wood and the plasterboard. So when I put the screw back in, it's not going through the metal. It's basically just being pinched up on both sides here. And it's about there. So this pendant light, we'll have the pendant hanging down, then we can get the magnet hook, and then we can potentially put the pendant up over to here. What I might do is release these screws and slide another bit of metal in this section. So when the table does come out, we've got a choice of basically putting a hook quite a way away from the original pendant.
Basically, we don't know where we're having our table, and this is a contingency.
I'm holding out hope though, Holly.
Yes, I'm trying to be positive.
I'm thinking this will work. I just don't know if it would be better if we put 2 layers of metal. Does that make it more magnetic or less?
This is like a little science experiment.
We need to get on Amazon and order those magnets. Now, I know this is probably going to ruffle a few feathers right now, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to the log burner. It's a lovely little log burner in the lounge, but obviously what me and Holly want to do to this house is to update it, and we're turning this room into the kitchen, like we've said many times now, which means that we cannot keep the log burner, so we have to say goodbye to the log burner. But we don't have to worry too much, because one of my friends has actually decided to buy this off of us and put it into his house, which he is currently renovating and stuff at the moment. So we know that it's going to be going to a good home, but unfortunately it's not staying in our home. I just thought I'd mention as well, there is a plaque I've just seen on the underside of this chimney to show when this was installed, and it was only installed in 2015. So if you were looking at that thinking that I'm removing history from the house, this is 6 years old. So it's not really removing any form of history of the house. This is the old TV aerial running through the center of the fireplace. So a couple of days have now passed and I've finally finished doing the plasterboard on the ceiling, which is looking really good. It's looking like an actual room again now, which is so nice to see. And our hooks have arrived, our magnet hooks. So the idea was that if we want to pull the table out, we can then move this light with a magnet on a hook, because we've just put that metal in the ceiling. And the moment of truth is, it works.
But
Which I was quite surprised to see. And the but is, the magnet is really not very strong. It holds onto the ceiling, but I think as soon as you hook something on it, it's just going to fall down. But it does go, oh,
not there.
Off, not there. It's about this sort of wide. So basically anywhere we decide to put the hook, it should stay. Now we've got the predicament of, do we just say, forget about it, take the plasterboard back off, take the metal off, put the plasterboard back on, and don't worry about it and just screw a hook into it? Or do we think that we can get a stronger magnet, and will that actually be strong enough to put onto the ceiling and then hang and hook this light up onto it? What are you saying, Holly? Keep it?
I'm keen to keep it if we if we can find a better magnet.
I think we can find stronger magnets. It's just, I don't know whether we need thicker metal above and a stronger magnet.
And we've run out of time for testing.
And the plaster is coming tomorrow, so we've basically got to make this decision now, but it half works.